It was when my friend Ling told me about the awkward incident that I knew what I would write about. Apparently, the day after Ling had interviewed for a summer internship, the hiring manager had tried to connect with her through social media. Ling was flustered. Was the manager trying to be her friend, or was the manager investigating her for hiring purposes? She told me she was afraid to ignore the manager, but she was also afraid of granting a potential employer access to her life online. The more Ling told me about it, the more frustrated I became. I thought the hiring manager's actions constituted a gross invasion of privacy. Moreover, I thought they were completely misguided. I mean, can you really judge a person's professional competence by the photos she posted on social media when she was 17? I felt so strongly about the topic that I decided to make it the focus of the argumentative essay I had to write for my business ethics class. My assignment was to take a stand on a controversial issue, and employers snooping around the social media accounts of prospective employees certainly fell into that category. I thought my first draft made a lot of good points, but while discussing it with my professor, I found that it also had some serious flaws. Professor Davis said that while she liked the energy of my essay, it wasn't yet as solid as it needed to be. I hadn't included much factual information or expert testimony, and I had failed to consider any opposing views. As a consequence, many of my arguments could be easily refuted by someone who disagreed with my position. Professor Davis also pointed out that my arguments too frequently relied on emotion. Appealing to emotion can certainly be effective, she said, but it can also be dangerous. If you do it too often, especially in an academic context, your audience might stop taking you seriously. She went on to say that the best strategy was to base my arguments on logic and reason, the hallmarks of academic writing, she called them. By the end of our conference, I was disheartened by the amount of rewriting I would have to do. I thought it meant I had done a poor job. Professor Davis, however, reminded me that this is just how the writing process works. Don't ever forget, she said, that writing is revising. I began revising by taking a step back. Rather than starting at the argument of my first draft, I would start with a question. Should employers examine the social media accounts of prospective employees? In order to answer that question effectively, I would have to try to uncover as many potential answers as I could. I realized quickly that I had to do research. There was a lot that I didn't know. What percentage of employers investigate the online activities of job applicants? What specifically do those employers look for? Does combing through an employee's online profile break any laws? I used our library's databases to find reliable information that answered these and other questions. Among other things, I discovered that the vast majority of recruiters look at social media accounts, and that they do so to assess qualifications, discover mutual connections, and determine whether an applicant will fit into a company's culture. In defense of this practice, recruiters stress the importance of employees to a company's future and point out that they need social media information in order to make informed hiring decisions. However, I also found strong arguments against evaluating a job applicant's internet presence. For instance, employers are legally prohibited from asking questions about things like religion and sexual orientation, nor are they allowed to ask whether you're planning on having kids. However, by combing through a person's social media accounts, an employer could gain access to all that information and potentially use it against you. Additionally, I found that 2/3 of employers would reconsider hiring someone if their social media accounts displayed poor spelling and grammar, and almost half of employers would hold references to alcohol against a job applicant. This, however, would be unfair. Most people don't concern themselves with spelling and grammar in social media posts because the rhetorical situation doesn't call for it. Moreover, although alcohol can be misused, it certainly isn't illegal. After I did research, I tried to think more about why I was so troubled by this issue. After free writing for a while, I saw that what bothered me most was the fact that my peers and I have grown up online. The internet is largely a public space, I wrote, but there is some expectation of privacy. People in my generation expect that as long as the world is pushing us to fill the internet with our photos and personal ramblings, there should be an understanding that not everything we post is meant for mass consumption, nor indicative of our professional abilities. After I typed that sentence, I leaned back in my chair and thought again of my original question. Should employers examine the social media accounts of prospective employees? My answer was still a resounding no. But now, thanks to all the work I'd done, I would be able to present a more convincing argument.